Welcome to the Digital Signage Today podcast presented by Networld Media Group. I'm your host, Daniel Brown, editor of Digital Signage Today. And today we have a Canadian joining us. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, my name is Chris Devlin. I'm the president of Omnivex Corporation here in Toronto. Kind of a great day today, but yeah, happy to be with you and talk about the world of technology meeting connection to human beings, which is what we're all about. So thanks for having me again.
Absolutely, and that's why I love chatting with you, because no matter how much the industry changes, and it has changed a lot, you remain laser focused on connecting human beings, which sometimes, I hate to say it, in this industry, folks forget the end goal because they're distracted by all the shiny new technologies. But it's about the people, isn't it?
Ultimately, that's what technology is here to do, is to service people, to drive labor, to drive productivity, to drive our economies, to make our lives better. And we do lose sight of it because you focus on automation, and that's a big thing to do. We focus on automation in our development processes, but ultimately, it's to connect people. We can get into it, but to de-stress lives, to take the stress out of some of these decision makings and put the information that we've invested so heavily in front of people so they can make better decisions in every step, no matter where they are, and no matter what business they're in, or no matter what physical location they're in. So, we at Omnivex bridge that gap, trying to connect those things. So yeah, we, as you said, well, I couldn't put it any better. I hadn't rehearsed it, but we are laser focused on exactly that, connecting people with the right information at the right time on the right screen. That's what it's all about.
I love that. And I want to dig in deeper without stealing too much thunder, because we also have a parallel piece, I suppose, where we go into strategy with you. But just very briefly, out of you, before we get into what's going on in the digital signage world, what would you say is the takeaway lesson over the years that you've learned? Because lots of providers, they come and go, software, hardware, you name it. But you guys have stayed steady. What's the big lesson for success in digital signage that you would share that so many folks maybe haven't gotten over the years?
It's a great question. And we're focused on enterprise customers, so that's one thing to take away is a lot of technology is driven by consumerization, and they've become fun products and good to use, and they're very, very focused on consumer experience. We're interested in enterprise value or business value, and then the people, employees of those companies, the production line workers, doesn't matter what type of employee you are, an executive, a worker, a union worker, but also extending into the audiences of those customers. And that can be supply chain in the case of manufacturing, and suppliers and customers. And so I think the thing that we were founded on was data. What makes us different than most people in digital signage was they come from media, and we do lots of media too. We do pictures and videos, and if you go to Times Square, we run an awful lot of the percentage of screens in there are driven by our software, by people who have businesses selling advertising that do that, and so people understand content management systems as media and video, and that's sort of the most dynamic and eye candy stuff that you can get.
So that's the DO or the DOOH, digital advertising world, I
That's correct.
guess.
Yeah. So it's on digital billboards and those sorts of things. And so a lot of digital signage and when we work with our partners who sell these beautiful screens, it's always beautiful images and videos. It's never a 1 or a 0 or a 7. Who could get excited about that, right? But it becomes data. And so we started with data. We started in financial markets. And we were taking data that was in stock ticker machines. Who knows about a stock ticker machine? That was another device that nobody uses anymore. It's a financial system. And so we would extract data from those machines and put them up on big LED boards. LED boards were really popular back in the 90s. And that's where we got our start, was taking data and getting it up where it could be seen and displayed. Most of those applications were single. It was to get data from a machine up where it could be seen by floor traders so that they knew what was coming down the pipe and what they were bidding on. And they wouldn't trade on the digital signage system. They would trade on the trading systems, but they couldn't see the trading systems fast enough, and they didn't have enough space. So these boards would say what's coming up, who's bidding, what's going on. Now it's just gotten more sophisticated. You've got so many types of data. The average worker uses 14 or 15 applications at work, and they would like dashboards or visualizations that put all those things together. And so we do that. We've always been focused on the data and people building their own apps to connect whatever that data might be. And no matter what happens over time, the data that people connect to is unique to those companies. Sometimes all of them have certain common elements, but always different. Their databases are different, their structure is different, the focus and the outcome they're trying to drive is different. People spend millions, if not billions of dollars trying to differentiate themselves from their competitor in the same market. And so they've got different content they want to
Sure.
share and different data that drives those uh, decisions. And so we've always been trying to take data, which in the form of information, and put information in front of people fast. So you just wind up with a different product because we're not just driven by the media, we're
Sure.
driven by the information. And the information you may want to see might be hidden. It might be information about Daniel Brown, and he's a very young man, handsome, and so we're going to
Thank
market
you.
these
Thank you.
type of products to him, and so it winds up manifesting itself perhaps in a media or video, but there's a lot of tapping into databases and AI systems now, and all kinds of other things behind the scenes. Now, that same scenario to a customer, you, Dan Brown, in this case, might be different to a back of house person where they actually need the data, the information, what's happening. Again, get into a
Hmm.
manufacturing plant, they need to know if there's errors happening in the paint shop because they can catch an error even 5 minutes sooner than they would normally. That might save them millions on a production line that's running. And in many cases, that's a human that has to catch it. Um, so it's connecting this heavily invested IT world. It's only getting more and more IT driven, but connecting
Sure.
people to it in one way, shape, or form. So very long answer to your question. I think we've
Yeah.
been
No,
focused on
I
that,
love
and
that.
that's what makes us different.
Well, in a secure and a reliable way, and that just makes me think of the agony. I was recently stranded in Seattle. I won't name any airlines, I won't name any software companies, but there was a global issue where something wasn't secure and reliable, and it caused a lot of headaches. So you guys are preventing stuff like this in your pipeline.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yes, that's a good example. You don't want to mention any names, but I suppose I'll respect that.
We'll say Joe's pretty good airline.
Yeah,
How
yeah. There
about
you go.
that? We'll use that.
But certainly, I think the situation was caused, and they've been honest about it. CrowdStrike that affected Microsoft systems, and it took down a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Microsoft's a big enterprise system,
Mm-hmm.
and so many people were affected. Everybody was affected, and um, on two levels, right? We're affected as a company producing our products, what we use and go through, and what we have to do to make our business run, and then we're connected to our customers and
Mm-hmm.
delivering information to them and what they need to do. And the thing about digital signage, I guess there's two aspects to explore this, is it's such a, or at least when you're data driven like we are, we're so connected to all the different parts of an IT business because
Mm-hmm.
depending on what they're exploiting, we might be connected to all their systems, maybe just one or two. We might be just used for pictures and video, as I say, and then in which case it probably wouldn't matter unless they were on Windows machines, which would be their own environment in that case. But we had to take those patches as well. We run a lot of Windows machines within Omnivex, and so we chose to rebuild our systems, and we were up by I think 10 o'clock in the morning. Got notification early
Wow. Wow.
from those vendors, and good on the vendors. I know it's a very embarrassing thing for them, but they were straightforward. They communicated transparently,
Mm-hmm.
quickly that they
Mm-hmm.
had it. A lot of people reported it as a Microsoft error. It was, in fact, it affected Microsoft systems, but it wasn't caused by Microsoft. And so this shows the nature of the supply chain and all those things.
Sure.
And I, as a president of a company using technology, and no technology is perfect, I want to compliment them because they were transparent and honest and forthcoming. And we live in a world, there's lots of cybercrime, there's lots of confusion, and it might have been easy for them to hide and not own up to this potentially. And so
Oh yeah.
the very fact they were forthcoming and go with it, it did underscore, however, how
Yeah.
hard it is to recover from some of these things for some companies, and it depends how much they rehearse their own DR practices, how much they can recover, how quickly you can patch it. Do you have the labor force to do it? Um, all those kinds of things. So that thing, although we were back quickly at Omnivex from our own perspective, uh, and our services were largely unaffected, but we have a whole bunch of on-prem customers that run large. One of our products, Moxie, is a Windows product that goes on-prem, so we're not running it for them. So it's in their data centers, and all
Mm-hmm.
those customers had various issues based on their own policies, bringing things up. So some of them were, days, some were hours, some had no impact. So it's just a huge incident and a lesson in security, connectivity, disaster recovery, and how to patch and be more agile. So I don't,
And the human element that you mentioned, which I love, the old-fashioned lessons of what was you said? Be honest, be forthright, just be transparent. And I think a lot of folks need to remember these classic lessons. If you do that, your customer's going to be a lot happier than if you try to lie and paper it over, and then they find out later, oh wait, now we're having problems.
absolutely. And we're a software for your audience. We're a software only player, so we work with many different screen manufacturers, device players. We've got people that do small screens, big screens, in wall screens. LED panels, outdoor things, big, huge, those stock tickers still. So the myriad of technology is great,
Hmm.
let alone the data connectivity that we're connecting to all these systems. So it's just so connected. Half the battle
Sure.
is knowing what the problem is. So just the very fact that they went, here it is, here's what we did, here's the fix, that was great because now people know exactly what's affecting them and
Yeah.
they can zero in on it. Um, you know, in a lot of other troubleshooting IT issues, you don't know, and that's half the battle. And the worst thing that can happen is, and it does still happen, unfortunately, is a vendor who knows they might be responsible doesn't want to take responsibility and leaves it for the customer to struggle through that. And
Well, if you pay for dark web monitoring, as I do, it's amazing to see over the years how many notifications from company A, B, C, X, Y, Z had a breach. It's like, well, they didn't tell me. I'm glad the service told me because they didn't tell me that all my information
Mhm.
was leaked.
and this broaches then into security, and so you've got security of your own
Hmm.
environment,
Hmm.
but all of us are trying to engineer more value for our customers and our partners, and so you might even touch other systems. Take the airline experience you had. You started talking about it. So I imagine airports that have their place and their time, and they're putting up their flights and that sort of thing, are passing through information from other airlines that run their own IT systems that are affected. So now the information at point A is not actually owned by point A, it's owned by point B, and depending on how secure they are and their hacks. And so you wind up with these things. So security is going to be an ongoing issue. My background before I joined Omnivex many years ago was with a security and storage company, and so I come from that background, and we've made an investment here as a result of that in getting SOC to compliance and making sure that we engineer to be robust that way, to hold data properly, to be accountable. And a lot of people that came out of media maybe don't consider that as high because it's not as critical to the systems. But we don't actually know what our customers are
Hmm.
putting in that. So we behave as if all data that they put into the system is enterprise class, needs to be treated as such, even if it's just welcome Dan to our
Yeah.
lobby. We don't know that that's what they're doing. They could be showing more confidential information than that. So security is going to be an ongoing
Hmm.
issue for
Hmm.
us, and that incident highlighted it. I think it is a wake up call that we still aren't as prepared as we need to be for a lot of companies. And I'm sorry you lived through that because
Oh
it's
no.
frustrating for users. Whether you're there for two
Thank you.
hours or
Thank you.
3 hours, or in some cases it was
Right.
days for some customers affected by that, and really hard.
Or well, I think in my case the worst part was having a huge dinner before the flight, and then there were no bathrooms open in Seattle for the entire airport. I was like, what is going? God hates me. God
Yeah,
hates
yeah.
me.
What?
No, well, well, this ties into another interesting question, because we've seen such a massive move, and overall I think it's been a good thing as a consumer and in the digital signage world, towards cloudification, just in everything. However, the more connected things become, the more sensitive the security can be. Um, do you think the cloud is 100% of the future? Will we always see some on-premise systems? And if so, how do we keep those as secure as the cloud systems?
Well, interesting. So there's no perfect technology, and cloud technology is a lot more complex than I think um, people. Some that just run infrastructure as cloud, go throw it up there. But when you
Mm-hmm.
get, as you say, you're connecting to different things, and you need all these services running. By extension, you're going to become a development house. So if you're going to put your stuff in cloud, you're going to have to code, you're going to have to script, you're going to have to monitor, you're going to have to do a whole bunch of development resources that weren't there as a consumer IT. So it adds expense, it adds complexity, and that is risk. Um, some companies will be risk averse. The aerospace companies is a good example. almost will assuredly never want to put their stuff in the cloud. They've got engineering diagrams of very confidential things, and they don't
Hmm.
want that. You might get them to take cloud infrastructures and bring them in house. Um, so so no, I don't think, and you've seen a lot of people go to cloud. We've got customers that we have that have moved other assets, not their digital signage, but they've moved to cloud with some things and realized, oh, I don't want this up there, and repatriated some of that back in their data center. We make a technology. So I've talked about Moxie, one of our products. It's designed to be on-prem. Our cloud product, we built a data stack component that allows people to keep the data they want on-prem, so that even though they can benefit from cloud technology and the brain power of a multi-tenanted system, and take advantage of some of the new endpoint technology that enables, they can keep either all their data or some of their most sensitive data on-prem. And so we've designed it that way.
Wow,
Um,
that's
so
cool.
that's how we go at it. And so we will always support both instances, your ability to move data on cloud and scale and take advantage of that technology. And again, I want to draw the point that most cloud vendors are doing more for security than people who put products on-prem. That was the case in
Hmm.
our own thing. We would have secure products, but we'd say, it's based on your security in your data center. So it was only ever as secure as that customer would do it. Most of us have
Hmm.
gone for SOC 2 compliance. Most people that do that go through that, and so they're working with other authorities and other agencies to establish rigid standards and criteria that make it safe for consumers and businesses to do that. So that'll constantly be better, and we'll invest millions and millions of dollars in it. But you still you can see ransomware happening. You can see hostage
Hmm.
things happen, and again, I won't name any of them, but they happen all the time in all our local markets, and people are getting better
Sure.
at coming up with ways to be proactive, to practice DR, as we talked about already. But that's only going to get worse. And we've got elections coming up that there's hacking and tampering, and
Sure.
people have to be thoughtful about what they're seeing and doing, and we have to be vigilant in providing more secure, better monitored systems so people can be alerted as soon as possible on these things, and already have the actions in place to correct it.
I love that. I love that. And I wish, every time we chat, I wish we had 3 hours to talk, Chris, because there's so many amazing subtopics I want to get into, like, the AI and protecting against malware and the ransomware. So we'll have you on again for sure. But if I could, just with our last, I think we got like a minute left, I want to hand you the mic. If you pull out your crystal ball and you look at the industry at large, what do you kind of foresee for the next couple of years? What should we be watching for? What do you think is the big shift coming?
You can narrow me down to one big shift. I mean, well, we've talked about security. I think you've got all kinds of nexus of things. You've got economic challenges. You've got a change in forces. You've got a change in workforce. We're still recovering from people working from home, and the workplace is changing. So you've got change is certain. Change is absolute certain.
Hmm.
That's one thing we can
Hmm.
be absolutely sure of.
Hmm.
Technology is going to play a bigger part in it, and I think that AI is going to help us a lot. It's still really in its infancy. It's going to get better and better. So put your AI close to the business system. Make decisions in each business system, and then use products like ours to connect to that information and connect it to human beings. Because no matter what digital transformation you're going through, you've got a certain number of employees. Your two most expensive assets are all the money you spend on IT and your payroll. And those two things need
Hmm.
to be connected and informed and constantly improved and communicated with. And we make communication software, so it's intelligent. So that's my message: is IT is not going to stop. Do it securely. Leverage the technology, but make sure you have people as a part of it. Automation's great, but it's only going to be as good as the extent that the employees you want in your organization, that you have in your organization, are bought in and making that happen. They've got to be bought into the process and acting on the information. And so we have the tools to connect to those systems. And the beautiful part of it now, it's ubiquitous, right? The digital signage systems are no longer screens and
Hmm.
proprietary systems. They go over browsers and so forth. So
Thank
we
you.
can connect people, not just
Hmm.
in Times Square on a huge billboard, but on a mobile phone with custom apps based on their user ID. I mean, if that's where you want to go, that's the whole idea. We're trying to put those tools into the hands of enterprise customers to drive the behavior they need. And the way I would sum that all up is all companies need to take control of their narrative. You don't
Hmm.
want Twitter to
Hmm.
do it. You
I
don't
love
want
that.
some agency or media to do it, because when that happens, you're already in a triage. Have a system that gives you the ability to control what your message is, to make sure you're communicating to your trusted people appropriately, and all your audiences. Could be customers, could be employees, could be people in a public space that you don't even know. In the case of a train station or an airport or a theater, that would be the case. They don't even know who's there, but they need those people to know certain things. Exit out these doors. Go this way. Alert the staff. Those
Absolutely.
kinds of safety and humanity things. And that's why I say technology is there to serve human beings. We continue to. We can't ever lose that guiding principle, and that's what Omnivex is all about.
I love that. Dude, I 100%. I love everything you just said. That's what we've been trying to preach from the mountaintop. So this is great. Thank you, Chris. I think we're up against our time, so unfortunately we will have you on again, but we'll have to wind down here. This has been the Digital Signage Today podcast presented by Networld Media Group. Please do like and subscribe for upcoming episodes. We've got a whole boatload of amazing content coming out this fall and winter, and it's been such a pleasure to chat with Chris Devlin, president at Omnivex, and we'll be doing this again
I
very
look forward
soon.
to it.
Chris, thank you for
Thank you
joining
very much. I
us.
look forward to it. Thanks for having me again. Take care, everyone.